Welcome to our defense briefing show. Today we're diving into some exciting and serious headlines from around the world. First up, President Donald Trump is planning to rebrand the Pentagon as the Department of War, aiming to evoke a stronger message of readiness and warrior spirit. It's a move that could shake up the traditional defense landscape, but it might need Congress's approval first. Next, Trump is also urging Europe to cut their Russian oil purchases and put economic pressure on China to help bring an end to the Ukraine conflict. He's calling for more sanctions and strategic pressure, emphasizing the importance of a united front against aggression. Meanwhile, Ukraine's allies are gathering security guarantees, signaling a step towards stability, even as tensions with Russia continue. Finally, a tragic incident involving a faulty army vehicle has raised safety alarms. A Land Rover's defective steering system led to a deadly crash, highlighting concerns about vehicle maintenance and safety standards within the military. It's a stark reminder of the importance of safety measures in defense operations. Please continue to watch for more detailed insights on these stories and more in today's defense briefing. According to BBC, President Donald Trump has announced the plans to rebrand the Pentagon as the Department of War, emphasizing a shift towards a more aggressive and resolute military stance. He intends to sign an executive order designating the department with this new name as a secondary title, and also plans to have Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth referred to as Secretary of War. This move is rooted in Trump's belief that the term Department of War better reflects the department's true purpose of readiness and combat strength, contrasting with the more defensive connotations of Department of Defense. Trump has long championed this change, citing America's victorious history under the previous name and asserting that Congress would likely support the shift. Despite the legal requirement for an amendment to officially change the department's name, the administration is also aiming to refocus the department's mission on war fighting and the warrior ethos, criticizing what they see as an overemphasis on diversity and inclusion programs, which they believe dilute the department's combat readiness. Meanwhile, Yahoo reports that the White House is actively pursuing this rebranding effort, with Trump's directive signaling a deliberate move to bolster a more aggressive military identity. The administration views this change as a way to project strength and resolve in the face of global threats, especially amid ongoing tensions worldwide. The rebranding is not merely symbolic, it signifies a broader strategic shift towards a more confrontational posture, emphasizing combat readiness over diplomatic or defensive approaches. This move has stirred debate about the implications for U.S. military policy, and the message is sent internationally, reflecting Trump's broader tendency to emphasize strength and victory in his foreign policy rhetoric. In the realm of international diplomacy, the South China Morning Post details Trump's recent call for European nations to exert economic pressure on China over its support for Russia's invasion of Ukraine. During a video conference with European leaders in Paris, Trump urged them to cease purchasing Russian oil, which funds the ongoing conflict. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky criticized European nations like Hungary and Slovakia for their continued Russian oil imports, highlighting the dissatisfaction with their perceived leniency. Trump's stance underscores his broader strategy of leveraging economic sanctions and pressure to influence global affairs. Although he has yet to impose sanctions on China for similar reasons, despite its significant Russian oil imports and ongoing trade negotiations. His recent accusations against Chinese President Xi Jinping, alleging conspiracy with Russia and North Korea, illustrate his confrontational approach aimed at asserting U.S. dominance and discouraging Chinese support for Russia's actions in Ukraine. CNN reports that former President Donald Trump is actively urging European nations to cease buying Russian oil and to exert economic pressure on China in an effort to end the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. During a coalition call with Ukrainian President Zelensky and European leaders, Trump emphasized the importance of cutting off Russia's fuel revenue, which amounted to €1.1 billion from the EU in a year, and highlighted the need for Europe to take stronger actions against China for supporting Russia's war efforts. While European leaders promised to contribute troops and support a peacekeeping force, the United States remains cautious about deploying troops directly, focusing instead on security guarantees and air defense support for Ukraine. Trump's frustration with the stalled peace negotiations has led him to consider more direct involvement, including sanctions and targeted actions against countries trading with Russia, with Zelensky echoing the call for increased pressure on Moscow and its trading partners. Deutsche Welle details how Ukraine's allies are rallying around the prospect of a post-war security framework, with 26 nations pledging to provide guarantees that could include deploying foreign troops to support Ukraine's stability after a ceasefire. French President Emmanuel Macron announced plans for a multinational reassurance force aiming to bolster Ukraine's security and prevent future aggression. However, Russia strongly opposes the presence of foreign troops on Ukrainian soil, and the United States' stance remains uncertain, reflecting the complex and delicate balance of international support. This unified front signifies a significant step toward ensuring Ukraine's sovereignty and stability, even as questions about the exact nature of security guarantees and the future role of foreign military support continue to simmer in diplomatic discussions. BBC reports on a tragic incident involving a military vehicle's faulty steering system that resulted in the death of 73-year-old Catherine Moore. The coroner concluded that the chronic defects in the Army Land Rover steering system significantly contributed to a fatal crash near Icklingham's Suffolk, where the vehicle swayed uncontrollably before overturning and causing a multi-vehicle collision. Despite prior checks and passing Army maintenance standards, the vehicle's major faults were overlooked, highlighting systemic issues within the Ministry of Defense's vehicle maintenance practices. Mrs. Moore's family expressed deep disappointment and called for improved safety standards, emphasizing that if the vehicle had been properly maintained, their mother might still be alive. The MOD acknowledged the findings and pledged to act on the coroner's recommendations, but this tragedy underscores ongoing concerns about military vehicle safety and the potential risks posed by inadequate maintenance protocols. The BBC reports on the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas, highlighting the deep tensions and the complex negotiations surrounding Gaza. Hamas claims it is ready for a comprehensive deal involving the release of hostages, prisoner exchanges, and the establishment of a civilian administration, but Israel dismisses these claims as mere spin. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu emphasizes that the war will only end once all hostages are freed, Hamas disarmed, and Gaza demilitarized, with Israeli security control maintained. As Israeli military operations intensify around Gaza City, the humanitarian toll worsens, with hospitals reporting numerous Palestinian casualties and the UN warning of a deepening catastrophe amid displacement and famine. Families of hostages are urgently calling for negotiations to prevent further endangerment, amid fears that ongoing fighting could irreparably harm both the living and the deceased. The Australian Broadcasting Corporation details Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's recent diplomatic engagement with US President Donald Trump, describing their conversation as warm and constructive. Despite the limited details released, Albanese mentions discussions on trade, critical minerals, and security interests, underscoring Australia's efforts to maintain strong ties with the US amid criticism from opposition parties. Critics argue Albanese should pursue more direct diplomacy with Trump, especially given the importance of personal relationships in US foreign policy. The article also notes the history of interactions between the two leaders, including a cancelled meeting during the G7 summit and recent visits by Australian officials to Washington, highlighting ongoing efforts to strengthen their alliance on issues like tariffs and security. The Associated Press reports on the Trump administration's halt of the Revolution Wind offshore wind farm project in Rhode Island, which is nearly 80% complete and poised to supply clean energy to hundreds of thousands of homes. The government cites national security concerns, specifically drones potentially using wind turbines for covert attacks, as the reason for stopping work. Critics, including retired military officials and Rhode Island's representatives, dismiss these claims as unfounded, emphasizing the project's economic and environmental benefits. The project's suspension threatens to undermine regional efforts to expand renewable energy, with local authorities warning of increased costs and reliability issues if the wind farm remains stalled. The controversy underscores the tension between national security concerns and the push for sustainable energy development in the United States. Yahoo U.S. reports that the U.S. Army is deploying soldiers from the 101st Airborne Division to the U.S.-Mexico border, signaling a significant military response to ongoing border security concerns. On July 22, 2025, Sergeant Salvador Hernandez was observed alongside Stryker combat vehicles overlooking the border fence from a hilltop in Nogales, Arizona, exemplifying the heightened military presence. This deployment underscores the federal government's concerted effort to bolster border security amid persistent challenges related to immigration and border control. The move reflects a strategic escalation, with troops prepared to support border patrol operations and address security threats, illustrating the tense and complex dynamics at the southern frontier. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopsis, thoughtfully curated by the 6DO team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6DO Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6DO team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6DO Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6DO Brief via email.
Turn the lights on screen. What's the latest scene? Just you and me, laugh and disagree. On the couch we sit, talk about the hits, news and bits and bits, chat through all the fits. 6-degree chess. Gotta talk about that. Flying crazy chat. Share where we're at. From the weather change to the world's big stage, everything's fair game under our spotlight's flame. Grab a coffee quick, get your hot takes.